Okay. Okay, we are live. Sorry, there was some technical glitch, so I was just correcting the technical glitch. So I will welcome Rachid, but everybody who is joining us shortly, welcome to the webinar session by Supply Chain Talks. The topic today is supply chain planning, excellence in the Middle East Africa region, and what leading companies are doing right. So thank you again. Hi, Rashid.
Hi, Naman.
Hi, Rashid. Just a second. Actually, there is some kind of a technical glitch. I'm trying to rectify that technical glitch. I don't know what has happened, but I'm trying to rectify it. Just a second. Share, copy. I need to correct something. Just a second. So we'll start in a minute our discussion. Something happened and the YouTube link got disconnected. So I've just sent an update to everyone so that people can join. Okay, so we start. Glitches happen. This is part of digital life.
We call
So
it
again, sorry?
we call it demo effect. It always happen
Demo.
when
Exactly. Seriously, it happens. And then when such things happens, your brain kind of stops working at that time. So you try to figure it out. But anyways, we are live again. We are live on YouTube as well, on LinkedIn and Facebook of SCT. Welcome again, Rashid. So let's start off. And I would first request Rashid to introduce yourself and also introduce Slimstock. And then we will go into the topic and start discussing. And we will then take it from there. Over to you, Rashid.
Sure, Naman. First of all, thank you for the invitation to be part of the webinar. I know you are one of those leaders who is changing the perception of supply chain in Middle East and bringing a lot of maturity, a lot of skill set to the table with multiple organization. I'm happy to be part of this webinar and put also my break in the building. My name is Rashid. I manage the business for Slimstock Middle East Africa. We operate in multiple countries. We have 4 offices in the region. We have one in Dubai. We have one in Jeddah. We have an office in Casablanca and an office in Cape Town in South Africa. So I can actually cover the whole Middle East Africa, not just the Middle East side of the business. What, Slimstock is a company, is a Dutch company. We started the business since 1993 in Netherlands, and we started actually in the Middle East since 2017. We are a supply chain planning solution. We actually only focus on the supply chain planning as well. That's our bread and butter, and we do it every single day. We have a platform that optimizes the end-to-end from the suppliers to the end customers. So we do the forecasting, demand planning, supply planning, inventory optimization, order optimization. We cover pretty much all the processes from the supplier to the end customers. And we have multiple leading organizations in the region that are using our system. Today, for example, if you go to the Dubai Mall and you just walk in the mall, you have, let's say, you have Sephora, you have Carrefour, you have Spinneys, you have Imima, you have Pet Shop, you have all those companies that are actually using Slim4, which is the name of our platform, as a backbone of their operations. So we're really happy to have those companies with us, and also that shows the trust of those organizations on our capabilities, but also the fact that there are many organizations today in the market are seeking to digitalize their processes and take them to the next level.
Awesome, and that is so true. And to be honest, just for the people to know that Slimstock has entered the Saudi market as well in 2025 with a huge bang. So we cannot discount that. So in Saudi as well, most of the retail is working on their solution. They are using their solution to plan. So now this takes me, and
Absolutely.
we will be covering that
Yeah,
as well in our talk. So my first question, Rashid, to you is that again you handle the whole region, Middle East and Africa. So from your regional perspective, how do you assess the current maturity of supply chain planning across this region, and what meaningful progress have you seen over the last few years? What is the adaptability or acceptance of such solutions right now?
So when we look at Middle East, Africa, and Oman, we actually look at two different regions, right? So we have the Middle East and we have the Africa. And
Correct.
the two regions are not the same when it comes to the maturity level. So Middle East supply chain planning maturity has advanced rapidly in the past 5 years because of multiple
Okay.
visions in multiple countries. For example, if we look at Saudi Vision 2030, also UAE has a similar vision where they are actually looking at digitalizing all their businesses, and also supply chain becomes the heart of every single business. So a lot of companies post COVID, they started implementing ERPs, they started looking at multiple processes and putting systems to automate those processes. So in Middle East, we see that the maturity level is quite it's medium today. It's not yet advanced, it's not yet
Okay.
high, because there are still some. I'm talking about the majority, right? I'm not talking about the minority of companies. There are still some leading organizations that can, from a supply chain planning perspective, they are comparable to organizations in Europe. But if we look at the majority, they are not yet there advanced. There is still a gap, there is still a lot of room to improve, because today a lot of organizations are facing data quality because of they don't have the right data in their ERP systems, and they are a lot of them are working on the data quality. There's also a lot of lack of skill set in the market, supply chain skill set. It's very hard actually to find talent that can actually operate the supply chain. I know that, for example, in UAE and also Saudi, there's a lot of expats that are bringing that knowledge to the market.
Yeah.
But also, what we have seen is that there are a lot of still some legacy systems. There is still a
Mhm.
lot of manual work in the planning done. So, and a lot of organization today, you will be very surprised, because sometimes when we knock the door on some of our prospects, and then we have this 1 billion revenue company, we are
Yeah.
thinking, they will be probably operating with some advanced technology. And then when we started knocking the door, and we found just humans, it operates with humans that
Yes.
had been in the company for many years, but which the business is successful, so they are profitable, they are making money, because those markets, they are a little bit still top line markets, they are not bottom line markets. So
Yeah.
there is still a lot of room, a lot of market share to get. But then when we started talking to them, we tell them, look, we can take you where you are today, and
Mhm.
easily we can pretty much change your business positively, because there's a lot of more room to improve. So this is, Numan, this is about Middle East. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Africa, I would say the maturity is between low to medium. It's a little bit lower than UAE and Saudi. Uh, and honestly, if I look at Africa, if I just talk about Africa as a whole, I wouldn't
Yeah.
give it justice. I will need again to split Africa in multiple parts.
Correct.
So you have North Africa. So you have Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt. You have also South Africa. Those are actually, they are emerging maturity. So they are, for example, in North Africa, they are quite close to Europe. So they are getting a lot of inspiration from there. And a lot of people that are working in companies in North Africa, they are easily studied in Europe. So so that helps. So the maturity emerges, and South Africa is the same. We see some emerging maturity, but the sub-Saharan, there is still a lot of room to improve, because everything is done manually. A lot of Sometimes we are even surprised that ERPs are not even there. So there are businesses, they don't even have an ERP. There is no system that is recording the master data, all the transactional data. So it's very hard to actually put in a planning system, because you cannot even get the data into the planning system to do the forecasting, inventory calculation, and replenishment. So that's a little bit the picture. It's a little bit scattered. a bit different from area to area. But what is important to mention is all those companies now, we see a lot of more appetite for implementing solutions. We see an appetite to digitalize the processes. We see an appetite to not just depend on humans, but depend on tools and have a knowledge platforms, basically platforms that actually captures the knowledge of the people, so that when, for example, people leave their organization, you don't stop the business. All the knowledge is in the platform, and you can still keep the business going. I actually tell you a lot of anecdotes about
Yeah.
this. I had like a couple of weeks back. I had a meeting with a pharma retailer in Mauritius.
Okay.
So the CEO of the company is a youngster. He has studied in the US. He's very sharp, and he's running the business now. This is a family-owned business, so he's taken over from his father,
Okay.
and he's pushing for automation. He's pushing for bringing AI statistical model to the business, because one of the risks he has is that all the knowledge of the company is in the head of two people. If these two people, something happened to them, the business will
Everything
stop.
is lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's pushing hard inside the organization with the board to actually bring in the solution, so that we can help them take this knowledge, configure it in the software, and then for us to take them to the next level. This is one of the examples of where you see a change, because there is also a change when it comes to generation. There is the old generation, new generation, and
Correct.
most of the businesses in the region, they are family-owned businesses, and that's very important to mention, because it's not like in Europe. This is a lot of family-owned businesses, and a lot of leaders now in these family-owned businesses. They are, let's say, they have been in the business for 30 years, 20 plus years, and then there's new generation coming in, bringing in this new ideas, new innovation, and the business needs to adopt them. So that's what's happening in the market right now.
No, you're right. And the example that you gave, that definitely now, traditionally, businesses have been very people centric, and they used to rely on some key people in the organization taking the decision and taking things forward and everything. But now, with the new generation and the youngsters coming in, and even how the business landscape is changing with global competition, with regional and geographical boundaries do not matter anymore as such when it comes to supply chains. So the shift is definitely there from the people centric to the process centric, and that is where when you go into the processes, then you need the system to support the processes so that they are not at all dependent on people anymore.
Yeah.
So correct.
We always tell our customers that the solution is just an enabler to the
Yes.
transformation you are doing. So it's not the goal by itself. The technology is not the goal, and it will represent 25% of the transformation. The rest is the people. We still need the
Correct.
people. The
Yes.
processes, like you mentioned, processes are
Correct.
very important. Putting the best practices in place, and also the data. The quality of the data is very important. We always say garbage in, garbage out
Garbage
is the
out.
same. So we need the right data to actually operate a good planning system.
Good. So now this leads me to my next question for you is that when you are working with best in class organization in this region, uh, what planning behaviors have you observed or the decisions that are being taken in such organization that differentiate them from the rest?
Um, Probably four or five. The first is, first of all, those organizations, they will have a supply chain structure. So
Okay.
there are rules and responsibilities. There is a clear governance and accountability. So the processes are defined, the ownerships are defined, crystal clear. So everyone knows what they have to do. You will be
Okay.
surprised, Luman, that in many other organizations that are not leading, there is not even a supply chain team. It doesn't even exist.
Correct.
It's part of
Correct.
it's there is a commercial department, and there are some people who are doing, let's say, category managers or category
Yeah.
planners who are doing a bit of procurement. So there is not really a team that is responsible, accountable for the supply chain. So in leading organization, you will have a department which is supply chain, which has clear KPIs, defined KPIs, and those KPIs are from the top. They are coming from the top line, and they contribute directly to the business. So that's the first one. So the first differentiator is having a clear structure with accountability and governance in place. The second one that we observe in leading organization is the data-driven decisions and the continuous improvement. So you know that what gets measured gets improved, right? So
Correct.
in many organizations, when you talk about forecast accuracy, when you about availability, when you talk about a lot of supply chain, let's say KPIs, they are not even measured. So nobody knows. If you ask, what's your forecast accuracy today? They don't even know. So in leading organization, all those KPIs are defined and they are being monitored, tracked every single week, every single month. So, and questions are asked if they are deviating from their target. So that's the other key differentiator. The
Fine.
other one is cross collaboration. So it's not about having siloed in the organization. It's about tight collaboration between the commercial, between operations, between the finance, between the product team. And in those organizations, you will always have what we call IBP, SNOP in place, and there are cycles. There are cycles in place, like monthly cycles, weekly cycles, where those people are interacting with each other and discussing the strategic plans, and if they are deviating from their budget, their targets, what they need to do to actually correct. So this is one of the key differentiators that we see in the leading organization. And the last one, it's investment in humans, in the talent, but also investment into technology. So these leading organizations will always look for the best talent out there. They will always look for the best solutions. They are always looking for improvement. How can I digitalize more my processes so that I can get the extra 1% of availability, the extra 1% of forecast accuracy, and so on? So this is what the mindset is about: improvement, but also bringing in the best tools and best people into the business. So those are if I would summarize them, the main areas that where those leading organizations excel.
Correct. See, and you're so right. And you talked about the enablement, that this is enablement and people and process. And this is also what I usually, when I'm interacting with other leaders, that I look at digitization or the digital transformation, that there are basically three P's to it. That the first one is definitely the people, then the process. So you need to have the right people, you need to have proper processes in place, and then comes the what product or what solution you want to get in place. But if you don't have the first two pillars ready, the third pillar will not do anything. Fine, it
Yeah,
will just be a waste of money down the drain. You can have beautiful systems, and unfortunately that is what the scenario is, that people go after certain names which are probably not even the right solution for their markets as well, or their businesses as well, from that perspective. And
yeah,
now, leading this to my third one, that again, when we're talking about leaders and at the board level, when you are interacting, how supply chain planning usually, and this was a part of my discussion with our friend Haitham today. We were talking about this planning topic. Just for everyone to know, Haitham is the supply chain director of Saja Pharma in Saudi right now. So I was having the discussion with him that planning should not be taken as just another department or as a function, but it's more of a business process, which is an end-to-end process. So the ownership has to come from the top. So the question basically is that at the board level, what needs to change for CEOs and the CFO, for the C-suite, to see planning as a truly competitive and a financial advantage for the organization?
yeah. So I think the supply chain leaders they have to do a better job in translating their improvement and the KPIs they are impacting to the board, because it's not the same language. So you will need to translate your KPI, your supply chain KPI, to more to a financial KPIs that everyone
Correct.
from the board understands. I do actually have a lot of interactions with the board, multiple board of multiple companies. That's actually how we manage to, let's say, convince these organizations to put in our solution in place, because it's not just about the features, it's about the impact, direct impact on the business. Just like you said, this is a business, it's a business solution. It's not just some IT solution you put there, you put some code and it's gonna do the magic. No. So first of all, when we talk about, for example, KPIs, it's important to translate them. A lot of supply chain leaders, they will talk about supply chain forecast accuracy. But what is a forecast? What does it mean, forecast accuracy? But if you translate it to a CFO, for example, 1% forecast accuracy is equivalent to between 2 to 3% stock reduction. That's working capital reduction. I mean, every single person in the board understand what is a working capital reduction. So that's a KPI that is very dear to their heart. And then if you
Yes.
talk to them, the correlation between their KPI and your KPI, then it's easy for them to digest. For example, when we talk about in supply chain, we talk a lot about fill rates. But if you link fill rate with sales, for example, if you say if we avoid stockouts, we capture an extra X million in revenue this quarter. So you are linking the fill rate with direct revenue, but there is a mathematical formula between the two. So
Correct.
you actually impact directly to the business. You know about the supply chain triangle, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
At supply chain triangle, you are easily balancing between the cost, revenue, and working capital.
Correct.
So it's the optimization behind the three element that defines the strategy of the company. So whether you are every single decision, whether it is done in the warehouse floor to the boardroom, will have an impact on the top line, because everything is linked directly or indirectly with the supply chain. So that's very important. So in order to change the perception of supply chain with regards to the board, it's really important to change the KPIs and at least translate the right KPIs to them. So, for example, when we go to a company and we pitch our solution, Slim 4, we always do a business case. And the business case will be okay. So, from working capital reduction, Slim 4 can do between 15% to 30% reduction in working capital in less than 1 year. And
Yes.
then we increase availability of product in the stores, in the DCs, and this can be between 5% to 10%. And
10%.
then you
Correct.
have increase of efficiency, you have a decrease of excess stock, decrease of out of stock, and even these last two KPIs, we reduce them by 50%.
Yes.
So every single C level, when you tell them those numbers, they usually their eyes are just like lighting up. Oh my
Lighting
God,
up.
yeah, they are lighting up. This is, and then when you explain how you're gonna do it, they're like, oh, no, I understand. Okay, so let us continue. Let's talk. Because if you look today, when you look at any business, there is a lot of, especially in Middle East. Middle East, it has been, as I mentioned, it has been a top line market. There was not much optimization done. No people are looking at optimization because it becomes more and more competitive. There is more competition in place, so you need now to start optimizing if you want to be competitive. So because it's a top line market, there is cash a lot of cash sitting in every single place, just
Yes.
sitting. There's now a lot of cash. So if you do some optimization, you can release the cash which is in the inventory, while still increasing the availability. So you are actually increasing the sales and you're reducing the inventory. You are giving the cash back to the business. What they can do
Yes.
with it? They can open more
Invest.
stores, they can open
Yes.
more DCs, they can invest more in technology. And like 2 months ago, I was having this conversation with this Saudi retailer. They are thinking about an upgrade of ERP. They're gonna change the ERP. and they are evaluating as well the supply chain planning. So we had a meeting with them and we explained to them, okay, this is the impact, this is your Aziz, this is where we can take you, this is the impact from a number perspective. And then the CEO decided that okay, we are not gonna do the upgrade today of ERP. We're gonna start first with the supply chain planning, because that will release us the cash. We're gonna take the cash and we're gonna buy with it the new ERP. That was the thinking.
Yeah.
So we release the cash so that we can invest more in order to digitalize even the other processes. So those are just some examples to explain to you the fact that supply chain is important. It is the backbone. If we translate it well to the board, they will understand clearly. And today, honestly, in some organization, you see that supply chain officers, they become CEOs. Why? Because the one of the functions that impact directly the business is the supply chain function, and the leader of the supply chain is a person who actually touches in all the aspect of the business. So that's why usually they are promoted to become the CEOs of companies.
Company. And interestingly, see, I'll give you two examples of your last statement. And I also have, I started my career in supply chain as a planner. Fine. So I was fortunate enough that I started in the right function, the right process, and I was able to understand supply chain totality. So the last statement that you gave, we were yesterday talking about, a supply chain guy becoming a CEO, Umar Awan.
Yeah,
Fine.
yeah,
Today I met
exactly.
the exactly, and today when I met the CEO of Saja Pharma, he is also a supply chain guy. He comes from the manufacturing, the operations, and everything. And so, recently I've come across more and more examples, as you're saying, that now the company leaders supply chain is big, is taking people to the CEO level as well, because now organizations and boards are understanding that supply chain makes a difference. And I will just add a few more points. Uh, when we talk about cost optimization and everything, again, let the youngsters understand the importance of supply chain. That if you ask a sales team to increase the gross profit of the organization by 5%, right? They potentially have to increase their revenue or their sales numbers by minimum 20% per se. I'm taking, but that same 5% profitability can be increased by supply chain by just optimizing their operations or COGS by 5% directly. So supply chain 5% is a direct impact of 5% to the GP. So we can, at the end of the day, we are the who can determine how organization can excel, can grow. And again, there's this important saying that it is not the companies who compete with each other. It is their supply chains which compete with the supply chains of the competition. So the stronger the supply chain, the better that you are in the market. So and better everything. So now
I would
moving
say,
forward, yes, please.
yeah, yeah, I would say that supply chain today is, of course, it's a competitive edge. It's not just a nice to have. Having like a solid supply chain planning processes and system in place, it's not nice to have anymore. It's a must have. It's a must have, and if organizations are not fixing it today, they may not be in the market anymore in the next coming 3 5 years. So if you look a lot of disruptive companies or businesses like the Noons of the world, Amazon, and all those are tech companies. They are investing a lot in technology, but also they are making sure that their supply chain is actually the backbone of everything they do. And
Correct.
also another thing that I wanted to mention is today, if you open any annual
Yeah.
report of any company and just search supply chain, you will actually find a page or multiple pages talking about supply chain
Yes,
in
yes.
the annual report, because it is very important.
It is very important, and now even companies are to the extent going and calculating the supply chain cost for the organization as well, to understand that what is the impact of supply chain on the organization and all of that. So now moving forward to our, I think we will continue for 2 or 3 hours our discussion like this. But the idea is that we do limit ourselves. So my next question to you would be about what needs to be done by leaders. Find many organizations are still into reactive. Something happens and then they run after things. But from your experience, how you interact with people, what you have seen out there, what are the two or three actions that leaders can now take to uh, help them move from their firefighting or reactive to more of a proactive and structured planning and towards excellence in planning?
I think I would say the first one will be to go from isolated teams into integrated teams and integrated planning. So just collaboration, putting everyone around one table helps a lot. Helps a lot with actually alignment. It helps a lot with visibility. It helps a lot with talking the same version of the truth, because what happens in many organizations, so you'll have marketing in one side, sales in one side, planning, demand planning in one side, supply planning in one side, and they're not even much talking to each other, and it's just firefighting like you mentioned. So going into cross collaboration, integrated planning is very important for organization as a step one. Step one will be more about probably moving away from the static spreadsheets into more dynamic solutions. Because today, it's if you are competing in a market, you will need to be fast, you will need to be agile, you need to be able to run scenarios, simulation, because we are in a market which there is a lot of disruption, there is a lot of crisis. So you will need to plan regularly, and you need a system to do that. If you are just relying on Excel files and spreadsheets, your speed will be very, very, you will not have any speed. You will just be reacting every single time instead of planning and then optimizing with systems. So a lot of I would advise people to invest, of course, in people, organization to invest in people, invest in technology, invest in processes, and then everything that is manual, big part of it should be automated so that people can focus on the most added value task, which is okay, what if I source my product from, instead of China, I'm going to source them from locally. And we see that a lot happening actually in the region, where sourcing, some of the sourcing is happening locally instead of from Asia. So what if that scenario happens? What's the outcome? What's the impact on my business? With a system, a smart system, it's easy to do those simulations. The other thing is governance. There should be a clear governance in the supply chain department and in the business as a whole, so that people knows who owns what and who is accountable for what, because that's what will drive the improvements. So those are the three ones that I would think about right now, Numan.
No, perfect. Thanks. And now moving forward with my next question, and that also correlates very well with a question that one of our listeners have kept. And the next topic is more about how the companies are improving their forecast accuracy with all the volatility, the disruptions, and the common volatility is the the seasonalities which come, the promotions and everything. That is the part of the business, but more to do with how the disruption and global disruptions are happening. We have seen since 2019 and 2020 so many pandemics happening, VAT coming in this region, and then the change of the week days changing in UAE, and then over here as well. All of this, because all of this impacts planning, and now the tariff issues, the Red Sea crisis previously, and now as well, and now the Greenland topic as well. So the global and everything, all of these things have a direct impact on planning, because planning has to take care of everything. So I would like your take on this. That how is the
So,
companies
yeah.
over here improving the forecast accuracy amid, and how does is able to tackle that as well?
Yeah. So I would say that the global crisis, Noman, I would just start from there, and then after that I'll go to the forecast accuracy. The global
Yeah.
crises that are happening, they are not impacting the planning. It's actually they are making the planning more important, because without it,
Okay.
I don't like how the businesses can survive, honestly. So it becomes very difficult, That's why in COVID, during COVID, everyone was talking about supply chain. I think in during COVID,
Yeah.
a lot of TV channels they were interviewing supply chain leaders on how should we do, where should we source the product, how should we avoid the late deliveries and so on. So if I go back to your question about the forecast accuracy, so the forecast accuracy has multiple. To actually get a good forecast accuracy, you need to put in some processes in place, multiple processes in place. And to get a good forecast, you need to start first with the history. So cleansing the history, making sure that the data that you are feeding to the algorithms is accurate. So removing the outliers, doing the classification of the product, because the forecast is not just about, it's not a one size fit all. A lot of companies, they will take a moving average, or they will take what they have done last year and they try to replicate it for next year, which is wrong. Every single product is different. You have a seasonal product, you have erratic product, you have lumpy product, you have slow movers. So when you treat every single product as unique as a class, and then you have the right algorithms for them, then your forecast accuracy will already improve drastically. So cleaning the history, finding the outliers, classifying the product in different segments, and then afterwards using the right statistical or machine learning algorithm. So using like an intelligence to forecast. And when you use, for example, a machine learning algorithm or an AI algorithm, you will take into consideration what we call influencing factors. So you can take into
Exactly.
consideration the promo, you can take into consideration the weather, you can take into consideration the location, some of the disruptions as well, if the ones that you can foresee in the future. And when you take this into consideration, then you get a good, accurate forecast at the end. So this is what needs to be done. And then once you get the forecast, this forecast is what we call a baseline, is a base forecast. But then you need to enrich it from a human intelligence perspective. So you add like in order to build what we call a consensus forecast, you add the sales customer forecast, you add basically inputs coming from different sides of organization, so that you enrich this base forecast to get a forecast that is more accurate and more realistic. This is exactly the process I just explained, with of course some other processes in the middle. Is what also we do in Slim 4, and it does work quite well for the region here as well. And we do have high forecast accuracy with our business, the businesses that are using our system. And it's well, but it's very hard to do in Excel file. So if you just do this in Excel file, you have a lot of SKUs. You will probably use some moving average, and you will struggle actually to do this in Excel file, because in, for example, in Slim 4, it's low touch, what we call low touch forecasting. So it's almost fully automated. Of course, you still need to put some inputs, and then once you get the forecast, then you only work by exception. You actually don't care about product that are forecasted well, where the accuracy is good. You will only care about some outliers or some exceptions, and that's where you drill down as a human to understand why this is
What
happening
is happening?
and how you can solve it. So 80% of the decisions are fully automated. 20% are more exception scenario-based simulation.
Okay. So thanks. And over here again, now since we are talking about Slim 4 and its capabilities, so based on all the implementation that you have done in this region, so whenever a company is starting their journey, what are the common planning gaps that you have seen, and how does a structured solution Slim 4 is able to address them and plug those gaps?
Yeah. So when we start talking with different businesses, actually yesterday I know we had a coffee together, but in the morning I had a discussion. We had a kickoff, project kickoff with one of pharma manufacturer distributor, and we were discussing actually about, okay, how we gonna start the project. So, and then there were the commercial team, IT team, supply chain, operations, production, and they were also sharing their pains, what are the struggles they have, and then their expectations from the project and from the solution. And what they shared with us just yesterday is similar to what we see as elsewhere. So first of all, it's firefighting, and then it's all reactive. There is no actually planning. So everything is done manually. It's done on Excel files. And the commercial director was telling the supply chain, hopefully with the new system, I don't want to chase you anymore to tell me when the product will be ready. Because apparently today he cannot know when the product are ready or not for him to actually send them to the customers. So the delivery or getting the product, having the visibility about what's going on in supply chain, it's a big gap for many organizations. The other thing is, if you look today in many organizations, we talked about the forecast accuracy. Forecast accuracy is below 60% in many of those organizations. So it's quite low because there are no system, there is no focus on it, and nobody is tracking it. The other thing is one size fits all approach. So people will just handle all the product the same way. There is no segmentation in place. They don't make the difference between different SLAs for different products. And also, you will see that the planning is completely disconnected from the commercial department. So what we discussed before about linking planning with the C-level KPIs, that's not happening in many organizations. Those are the gaps, common gaps that we see. And the other one is we see the talent as well. Talent from a people perspective, the people are not upskilled. They don't really understand what are the best practices. And even though they are keen, but there is still room for education, upskilling team. So how Slim 4 helps? So
Yeah.
Slim 4 or Slimstock in general, we position ourselves as a partner to any organization. We are not just here to bring you features and functions. We will definitely impact your top line when it comes to availability, when it comes to excess stock, out of stock, inventory reduction. But we are as well here to actually bring in the best practices. So we have more than 1,700 customers worldwide. And each time we work with a customer, we take their inputs, and then those input becomes, especially when they are standard norms, they become part of the solution, and those becomes basically a goal that we bring to new prospect that we have gathered throughout the years with multiple businesses across the globe. So we bring in the best practices, we sit down with our customers, and we challenge their processes. So it's not just about copy pasting what they have in their business into the solution. It's about actually
Right.
taking the business to a to be business. It's leapfrogging their processes and then configuring them in the solution so that we can help them to next level. We also help with the data quality. We do a cleansing. We have algorithms. We actually have an agentic AI module that does the data cleansing and helps with the data quality. And also, what's important is for us, it's all about continuous improvement. So once we go live with the system, so we look at we track down the value, and then we try to see how we can improve it moving forward. And we do weekly, monthly, quarterly meetings to see how we can take it to the next level. So so that's a little bit, that's basically how we help organizations. So it's not just about forecast accuracy, which I already explained how it's done, but it's broader than just a KPI. It's really taking that KPI, making it impactful in the business, and making the supply chain planners adopt the solution so that they can actually they can impact the business positively. Yeah.
See, exactly. And I will add my input for Slim 4 as well over here that, when you're talking about complex organizations, companies who are handling 40,000, 60,000 SKUs, and those are not even static. Every day or every week, new SKUs also get added because of the nature of the businesses. Fine. So the traditional way of planning, and I'm talking about the time when I used to be a planner back like a good 20 something years back. Fine. Excel sheets were amazing because the dynamic or the it was not that fast paced at that time. The supply chain or the demand, people were still okay with delays to an extent and everything. But the issue with Excel based planning is that you can only use one set of mechanism, and you need to and mostly everybody used to use ABC classification, for example. But with a solution like Slim 4, you are able to, define specific classification for each SKU, and it can be a combination as well. If I'm not,
Yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong as well, that it can be a combination on ABC with FSN or with XYZ or
a multi
criticality,
we do a multi-dimension
multi-dimensional.
segmentation. Yeah,
Exactly. And the strategy can be unique for everyone. The planning strategy, the stocking strategy, the service level strategy, the
absolutely.
availability strategy, everything. And this is what you were saying, that then the system is doing everything automatically, and it is handling every item as an individual with its own personality. It is not cut copy paste on anything, and then the manager or the leaders are only looking at the exceptions, the outliners only. So now,
But
even
it's
if
not.
you are
Yeah,
handling 65,000 SKUs, actually on a daily basis you're only reviewing 5, 6, 7, 8 top items only, probably. The rest is
absolutely.
run on automatic scheduling then.
We have a grocery retailer, one of the biggest in UAE.
Okay.
95% of the orders placed to their suppliers,
It's true.
95% is done automatically without a human intervention. It's only 5% of the orders. So you go to the supermarket, one of those hyper supermarkets, and you see all the product there. They are all forecasted, replenished automatically without a human intervention. Only 5% of them is actually there is a human validation, and it's really related to the threshold from the order amount from a value perspective.
Okay.
So
Okay. Okay.
that's what we do from so we can actually do a lot of automation, and but the appetite for automation will depend on business. Every single business will have different appetite for it. There are people who wants to automate a lot. There are people who are afraid they want to automate some part of the business, which is fine. The system is quite flexible to adjust to multiple appetites. And what also is important, Numan, to mention, because I know we talked a lot about forecast accuracy, we talked about forecasting itself, but we should not forget about the supply planning, inventory optimization,
Yep.
because it's not just about the best forecast. You can get the best forecast out there, but then if you don't place the right inventories, the right statistical in the or probabilistic levels of inventories to cover from as buffers from the variation of your demand and also variation of your supply, then you are screwed. So it's the balance between a good forecast and also a good positioning of inventory that actually makes organization to perform and achieve the targets and KPIs that they have in mind. So it's both of them are very, very important, because some organization will be they will come to us and they will be like, oh, I have a very low forecast accuracy. I'm looking for a demand planning solution. And then when we actually talk to them, we explain to them it's not just about demand planning, because you can have a good forecast, but then if you don't do anything with it, it does not serve you actually. And then they understand, okay, so I actually, once I have a good forecast, then I can place the right levels of inventory that are also calculated in an intelligent manner, taking into consideration different planning policies based on different products. So we do a multi-echelon inventory optimization. So every single node in the network will have basically for each product will have a level of inventory that is calculated based on all the parameters. And then once it's done in a more tightened manner, then your planning efficiency goes up.
Okay. So my next question, and we'll try to keep it short because we have discussed in length earlier as well, that how does planning excellence impact the cash flow for the organization and the return on capital employed, the
Mm.
ROCE. And again, finance is always very tight and stringent on these topics, and this is where I think when we were talking earlier as well, that you were showcasing that it's not just inventory reduction, but it's also service level improvement, it's optimization. So it's a 3D and a 4D effect. Slimstock creates everything in multiple dimensions. Fine. So,
Well,
so
that's how. But you are right. You are right. I think we already discussed this
yeah.
topic
But just a
about.
recap.
Yeah. So basically, we have you have the supply chain triangle, as we mentioned. You have the
Yeah.
cost, you have the revenue, and you have the working capital. So
Okay.
what we do is you of course we reduce the working capital. so your inventory is reduced. I mentioned, for example, for Slimstock, we do between 15 to 30% reduction in terms of stock. You get availability, you increase availability between 5 to 10%. So if you actually look at the two goals, they are contradictory, they are the opposite. You are telling a business that I'm going to reduce your stock and I'm going
Yeah.
to increase your availability. And they were
Correct.
like, wow, how come? So you're gonna basically impact the revenue. Your revenue will increase while you do it with less resources, and that's the
Correct.
optimization, and that's the magic. That's the beauty of the system. So and that's very important. So better planning reduces obsolescence, excess stock, out of stock, lost sales. I mentioned before that, for example, you just have like a 5% improvement, like I said, 1% improvement to forecast accuracy. That will be equivalent to 2 to 3% lower inventory. So there's a whole, it's a direct correlation between top line and supply chain KPIs.
Okay, perfect. And coming to the last question for today, and then we'll take some of the questions from the audience as well. So the last question is future looking, that over the next 12 and 24 months. And I selected the 12 and 24 because in planning, rolling forecast is either 12 or 24 months. You need to look into the planning, long-term planning. So what should supply chain leaders in this region, especially around us, need to prioritize if they want to be recognized as a planning-led, resilient organization? So what would be your
So
advice be for that?
yeah, I would say first of all, invest in people, invest in the right training, invest in the right upskilling, hire the best people that can actually work with technology, with the latest. I think a lot of youngsters today, especially with supply chain backgrounds that are sharp with the fire, can actually, we can make supply chain exciting for them. So invest in people. That's very important. Everything goes with people. If you don't have the people, you don't have anything. So we're not replacing people. A lot of people will think because we talk about 80% of automation, 95% of order in place. It means that we're gonna replace people. We add a lot of efficiency. We increase a lot the efficiency. So people will actually focus on what matters instead of focusing on non-added value tasks. So first, invest in the right people, training them, upscaling them. Second, accelerate technology adoption. So today, technology is very important. There's a lot of people investing in AI-based planning system like Slim4, and you will not, if you are still running your business in Excel file, you will not be able to compete with them. They will be faster, the decision will be more automated, and they will be focusing on what matters for their business instead of just doing the firefighting. So that's very important. The data is really important as also an advice for leaders who are looking for the next coming 12 to 24 months. If you have like a crappy data, look at it. So look at it, try to work on it, so that, because even if you bring a solution and you have a data that is not qualitative, it will not help you. So working on the data, making sure that you have everything you need, and it's not just in Excel files and in the head of people. It's actually recorded in a system for in an ERP. Then we can plug, for example, Slim4 or any other supply chain planning solution to it, and then we can do the optimization. Um, and the other thing that is really important is this IBP SNOP, right? So I talked a lot about siloed organization. I talked a lot about the cross collaboration that is very important. So in the next coming 24 months, leaders should actually create processes, IBP processes, SNOP processes in place where there is a tight collaboration between finance, product, supply chain, demand, supply, marketing, and everyone is driving towards one direction. And there is no discrepancies or misalignment between the two. There is a cadence, cyclic cadence, the weekly, monthly cycles where people are aligning. So that's very important. Um, Focus on once you have the solution in place, The solution will also help with scenario planning, simulation, and then taking data-driven decisions. So that will automatically come with the technology. Um, a lot of people now, if you see in the market, they will talk about AI. AI is because of Gen AI and LLM models.
Correct.
Everyone wants to invest in AI. Actually, a lot of prospects will come to us and they will tell us, "Hi, Rashid, I want AI." And we're like, "What do you mean by you want AI? Tell us which problem do you want to solve?"
Correct.
It's not, it's not about AI. So don't get, let's say, hyped by AI. You should all, we have AI solutions, we have AI use cases that can be solved by AI, but it should all be driven by the business. So when you have a business problem, you expose the business and you look for the best possible solution to solve it. It should not just be, I want some AI in my company. It should be, okay, this is my problems, this is my pain point. How can I solve them best?
Correct. Correct. Thank you, Rashid. Great session. I wish I did not have to cut this short because we are bound by time. We have only a few minutes left. I'll just take a few questions and then we can call it a day. I'll just look at a few comments first from some of our colleagues. So Sumair has shared a comment that as logistics is a subset of SCM, proper planning and forecasting can be very profitable for the bottom line profit of any business. Sumair, you're right. Logistics is a subset. So planning is not just inventory and stocks. Planning is across the whole thing. So when we are talking about supply, replenishment, demand, and even last mile planning or distribution
Last
planning
time
as well.
delivery.
So exactly. So you need to know where which product needs to be there, how much should it go out daily, should it go out twice a week, or should it go out at, how it. So that planning is very important. You need to have the right, to the extent that the planning needs to be there, what items need to go into this container or in this box or something. So that extent. So yes.
Yeah,
uh
yeah, if I may, Numa, I know
yeah.
we can exceed the 2 minutes. So in supply chain management, you have multiple processes. You have the supply chain planning, and you have the supply chain execution. And logistic is usually categorized as part of the execution, right? So, and when we talk about supply chain planning, we are actually talking about planning ahead of time before the products are actually being put in the truck and being shipped. And then in the execution, so what you do, the optimization of routing, and you have the filling of the truck, you have the right quantities. That's more the logistic part of it. But both of them work very, very closely with each other. It's almost like a loop between the supply chain planning and the supply chain execution, which logistic is part of. And both of them are
Correct.
very important.
Correct. And I think we have a similar question. So we just answered this question as well when we were talking what is the impact of logistics planning on our business profitability and compatibility. So we have already tackled this. I'll take this question as well, and then after this we can definitely call it a day. Given the ongoing political, and this was I was mentioning when I was talking about the volatility and this thing, that how can logistics providers, shippers, and forwarders proactively plan to mitigate disruptions, trade uncertainty? It's not a direct link to our discussion today because it's more of a logistics topic. Ramzan, we can connect on it on a separately, and I can definitely love to answer this because over here we are talking more about the supply and demand planning of things. But
So they are like
again,
control towers, actually, control towers that
yes,
gives you the visibility about every single shipment across your supply chain, and you can search even your product. And then, for example, your ETA is you're gonna be delayed. One of the shipments is delayed. You can look for different suppliers or source the product from local warehouses. So if you have to answer the question, first of all, you need to have a real-time visibility
visibility.
of of your supply chain, a real-time visibility. It means that whatever happening in your physical supply chain, it is also happening in your digital supply chain. Once you have that visibility, that's already you solved already 80% of the question, and then the other 20% is how to react and optimize afterwards and find the best routines and so on. And there are solutions in place as well for all of this.
Correct. And just to build further on you, so there's this concept or solution known as the ALMs, which is the Enterprise Logistics Marketplaces, which basically are able to provide all the required data at one place. You are able to manage and counterbalance the disruptions which are happening. And see, at the end of the day, supply chain is a function which thrive on chaos. We try to find logic within the chaos. So the disruptions will always be there. One thing or the other will always be there. There will be unfortunate events and everything. Because if everything starts going perfectly, then there is always 100% forecast accuracy. There's no disruption, nothing, and everything is like it's perfectly run. But that is never the case. So the disruptions would be there. Not about global pandemics. Even the human consumer behavior changes from season to season, year to year. The same person, if I'm same person, my behavior would be different in 6 months' time as well, because my needs have changed as well. So everything is dynamic and everything, and this is all volatility and changing behavior. And this is why planning is so important to manage all of this and predict all of this. So a big thank you, Rachid, for giving us the time. I know you are traveling, even though you are in my city, but still you are still traveling. You are not in the home base. So a big
No,
thank you
it's a
from our
pleasure.
side to you.
No, it's a pleasure. It has been a rich discussion. I enjoyed it myself, and I always enjoy discussing with you, Numan. So it's a good chat.
No, thank you. So, sometimes I was talking to my team that I would love to have on a daily basis these talks, but then again, when will I actually work then? So, but
Yeah,
again, so thank you everyone. Thank you for all those who joined. This will be available online as well. We will be sharing the link over LinkedIn as well. Again, a big thanks to Rashid for taking the time out and sharing his insight. Again, thank you. Assalamu alaikum.